This is titled Death by PowerPoint, an OBS Studio advertisement. So I figured the easiest way to kind of be entertaining and come into this is start with a PowerPoint presentation. Everyone's used to PowerPoint presentations, and that's the problem. Often that they can be dry, and what ends up happening with our PowerPoint presentations is really, especially for me today, when you're doing an 8 to 10 hour day of training, if all you were doing was looking at PowerPoint presentations, not seeing me, the speaker, talking, you're not engaged, you're boring, you want to bored, you want to basically shoot yourself to get out of the training. Susan is doing some training today, and she had a 4-hour training session. And when I was getting a drink in the kitchen for those 3 or 4 minutes that I heard of the training session, that was absolutely awful and painful. So PowerPoint presentations are generally boring. You don't get a whole lot of engagement from the end user. I'm talking at you instead of to you. You're often, it's disconnected. And then people tend to read. So on this slide, we have downfalls of PowerPoint and static presentations. First, they're non-interactive and often not engaging. And, people get tired of that. So one of the things that COVID has caused me to look at is how to deliver virtual training sessions. Most Red Hat virtual trainings and pieces like that last around 6 hours. We found that that's almost the magic formula. So what can we do to keep people engaged and participating in 6 hours? We can't do that easily with PowerPoint. So my nephews love watching these YouTube streams, these YouTube gamers where they're streaming, a Switch game or a PlayStation or an Xbox game, and these kid gamers are there in the chair and they're superimposed over the screen. So that's streaming software, and they're somehow modifying and broadcasting that stream. Well, one tool that's out there is Open Broadcast Studio, or OBS Studio, and it's an open broadcaster software. It's 100% open source. It's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And you can do either professional quality live streams with services like Twitch or YouTube Live or anything else, or you can make professional style video recordings. When I first started this, I had to play around with the software because my new Red Hat training laptop is a MacBook. It's running Mac OS, and it did not have the live camera, which I'm going to be introducing and showing everyone how that works. So what I had to do was get on GitHub and compile my own live camera module that got loaded into OBS Studio. Now it's already compiled and you can install it easily with Mac OS. There's definitely an easy MSI plugin for Windows, and then for Linux there's VLC4 something video plugin for Linux. So why use OBS Studio? We had someone not listen. I'm going to turn your camera off there, Dougie.
I just saw it in the chat. I'm starting to get off.
And yes, the irony is I am giving a PowerPoint presentation now. I didn't have a chance to set up some of the OBS screens, but I am going to switch over to OBS Studio. So OBS Studio allows you to create different engaging interactive scenes. You have 100% control over the content delivered. As part of that control, you can set up automatic scene switching. So that way you are not sharing screens, you're not sharing applications or NSF, not safe for work stuff, to your audience. So that allows you to have, I've got like 12 to 16 different windows open right now across all the monitors. But OBS Studio, I've controlled the screens to be only the scenes I want. And then when I click in, let's say, a terminal window, it will switch to the correct scene. So we're going to see a couple screenshots of OBS Studio. And the other reason for the PowerPoint, in addition to being a little bit ironic, is showing us OBS Studio without the layered effect. Because when you do the screen sharing and try and show some pieces, it shows almost like a mirror all the way through with a whole bunch of reflections. So let's start off with some of the pre-built scenes. So this is a screenshot of OBS Studio, and the arrows indicate the different pieces that I've got. So for the class slides, when I'm introducing myself and what's on there, what people will see is basically a static introduction slide for me for whatever class it is that I'm teaching for that week. And that's on there like 5 or 10 minutes before the class starts. And then you go into where I'm teaching the course. So one of the things I display is the output of the course book from my iPad. And then you can see me in the bottom right-hand corner overlaying that stuff. So I am using a chroma key and a green screen behind me to eliminate the background and the computers that are often behind me. Other pieces I've got is the full-blown Linux desktop that shows in there. And you can see that this was called video and demo with the full desktop. So I've got the full desktop. I've got my Logitech camera. That's how I labeled my camera source. And then I've got what I call background 2 that shows in the background, and that's the Red Hat certification and training background. Whereas when we go over to the next little scene there, we have video and demo with the shell. So that's a terminal shell and shows my shell only. And again, it's got my iTerm shell giving the shell as the window I'm capturing. Got my Logitech camera, so that's me with the chroma key. And my eyes happen to match the background because that was before I had a true green screen that's green in color. So I used a blue blanket that I hung from the ceiling, and it whited out my eyes because the color of my eyes matched the blanket. And then you can see that it's using background number 3. Moving on, I have a different video and role interface. That's our Red Hat classroom interface, where the class dashboard and where you can launch the labs. And then I've got a scene for my guided exercises and labs, where it has a countdown timer. It tells them what to do, and you can see that I'm using different backgrounds between those scenes as well. Yeah, I am an alien. So a few things of hardware for my setup. I don't recommend you go out and buy this now. COVID has actually made people go insane on Amazon. So this Logitech webcam that I was able to pick up for $80, if you can buy it now at some places, it's over $300. I'm using an HDMI capture card so that I can stream my Switch. So I do have a scene for my Nintendo Switch so I can play games with my nephews, and it can be like a live stream. But I'm using the AverMedia Live Gamer Ultra. It's a 4K, 60 hertz HDMI to USB video capture device. That's how I get the signal from my iPad. The iPad I've got is an iPad Pro with the USB-C connector. So with my MacBook and everything else, I have those little USB-C to HDMI 4K adapters. So I can plug that into the iPad charging port and have HDMI out. Problem with the HDMI out from the iPad is some things, including the HDMI video capture device, sees the HDCP, so the HD copy protection from the HDMI, and would not let it through. Well, when I travel and teach, I use a tech hole HDMI splitter, and guess what? These little $12 devices can strip that HDCP off of there. So it is stripping your HDMI copy protection from that video source, allowing the video output of my iPad to be captured by that Gamer Ultra device. And then I used to teach with a headset and headphones and everything. My head got sweaty, and I hated wearing that thing 8 to 10 hours a day. So I'm using a USB Blue Yeti microphone. And then, so now we have conquered death, no longer using PowerPoint, and we're ready for OBS Studio. And now you're seeing a whole bunch of crap that is on my desktop that's unintentional. Because again, I'm having to share my whole desktop with y'all instead of using OBS Studio. Now I'm going to switch back to my virtual camera device. And this is OBS Studio. So now what I'm going to do is show you an example of me teaching from the book and the video. So I'm going to show everyone a few examples of how this works. Then what I'm going to do is show you the steps on how to build an OBS scene. I'm not going to show you how to install it because it's a fairly easy application to install, standard installer, but the usage and introductory barrier to this is very small. Once you learn how to set up the scenes and create your sources, possibilities are endless. So I'm going to my, this is my iPad. And as you can see, I'm here. Hello, guys. Let me pull up my green screen. It's behind me. And now you can see the stuff that it was hiding, and now I'm no longer transparent. Let me switch into the Travis webcam only mode. This scene, oh my goodness, this looks like trash. Sometimes there's stuff on my monitor back there that's distracting. So when I'm teaching or doing anything, this is a limey green. I don't typically wear green, so I set up the chroma key, and I'm no longer Ghost Travis. You can see the whites of my eyes, you can see the color, and if I zoom in real close, you can probably see my pupils. So that's how I become transparent. And then the background here is whatever background or whatever's behind that layer in OBS Studio. So, you know, I'm presenting throughout the day from a book. Let me go to something else in here in OBS Studio. Well, I already wrote on this some. But anyways, here's a book. So I can say, you know, here's what's important with running containers using Podman, typical Podman run syntax. The Podman run command will actually launch our container based on the image we specify, and then we can override that command entry point by going to the end of the line and echoing what we want. So, this is how I've been typically teaching some of the Red Hat courses. I've got some of my own notes with pictures and examples, and then I can switch back and forth to the real student guide. And we just covered this evening using the OC command line utility for OpenShift to do a source to image. So we can utilize this. Now, those of you that are teachers and these teachers out there can go in here and create and I'm using a software called Notability, and Jude, I'm going to mute you because I think you've got an open mic. But those of you that are teachers out there might remember graphing. So I'm in Notability. I'm going to change to a grid graph paper. And now what I can do that I've got a paper set up, I can create my, my interactive X and Y axis. And this is just like I'm using my overhead projector in the classroom or the whiteboard. And let's see, I am going on this y-axis, the units are 1, so this is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 10. 1, 2, 4, 5, that's 10 up here. So if I put a point right here, and I go over to, or let me go over 1 and up 2, over 1 and up 2, over 1 and down 2. I've got a pretty steep line here. And in the format y equals mx plus b. So if I were teaching algebra, let's say, maybe it's algebra 2, I don't remember exactly, probably algebra 2. We want to identify the y-intercept, which is the b. So that's when x is 0. So my y-intercept, my b value equals 4 here. So I've got my y-intercept. So now I've got to figure out the slope. So for every 1 over, our slope goes up by 2. So y is equal to 2x plus b. So the m is equal to 2. So y equals 2x plus 4. So when x is 1, y is 6. So this is how a regular teacher could use this. I know often some of these schools are now issuing iPads to the teachers and students, and the newer iPad models are all coming with the USB-C charging interface, so you can use these cheaper devices to connect with. You don't have to buy that special Apple branded lightning adapter. You can just buy a standard $11 or $12 USB-C HDMI dongle from Amazon.
Hey, Travis, I got a question. Some of the gamers have a second video pop in occasionally with their buddy for a little bit and then leave. Are they switching scenes when they do that? How does that work?
Yeah, you can switch scenes, you can add scenes, you can add different scenes.
Well, no,
So
I mean, it looks like it's the same scene, but all of a sudden another window pops up with their buddy for about a minute and then it leaves. Do they
it's
switch scenes to do that?
yeah, they're probably using the automated scene switcher. Uh, because for this scene here, if I had another scene just like it, and let me just add a piece of crap here to this one. Let me figure out what I can add here easily that won't take up much space. Whoops. Let me move that here. And I'm doing this scene on the fly, so pretend this was pretty much the same scene with the other window popped up. So that's the other little gamer dude that popped up.
Okay.
So that countdown timer, it's basically this is the same exact scene, but there's another or an additional source in this scene.
But you just switched scenes while you were doing that.
Well,
We couldn't
I
tell what switched.
I didn't switch a scene. I added an input on this scene because I didn't have a scene that has the book and video and everything else.
But I mean, would you notice if you switch? Would people see the pause?
No, it's basically instantaneous.
Yeah.
So I've got automatic scene switching turned on for some things. So now I am going to click on my Firefox because I was showing them how to do GitLab and fork a repo. So I'm not doing anything with OBS Studio. I'm just clicking on my Firefox browser and it instantly switches. Now, you noticed some transition because I'm broadcasting with a virtual camera and I'm not doing the live stream directly out of OBS Studio, so there's overhead. And I completely switched to a totally different style system. So a bunch of graphics changed there instead of just a little bit. Let's see here. I just switched into the OpenShift tab. So all you saw really switch. I stayed the same, but the background. So if there was another element in the scene, that would pop up almost instantaneously, and that's how your person comes up like for a few minutes. You can set the automatic scene switcher to switch based on which window you click on. So I'm now clicking in a terminal window, and boom, it quickly switched to the terminal window. So I was showing them how to list the OpenShift image streams there earlier. Let me clear this and, let me just do a man SE manage F context. So I could say, when we're doing a website with content in a non-standard location, how do I do that? Where are my triggers? I can search /exam, takes me to the example section, and if I'm looking here, I can see that SE manage F context example. All I've got to do is copy, paste, tweak, and execute, and really what I'm changing here is the directory name. Once I've done that, I need to remember to do the restore con with the -r-v/web, so it will recursively restore the SE Linux file context, and then it's also verifying the stuff. So this is remote broadcast or open broadcast studio. I have the book and video. I have to wait. I need to get rid of this source. I don't want that screwing me up for tomorrow. And I better put my iPad back on the book I'm teaching from, so I'll be back in the right spot. But the book and video, I have 3 sources to find, and I'm going to be sharing my desktop again so you can actually see how to build these Open Broadcast Studio or these OBS Studio screens. And Ben is right. The OBS Studio is really sponsored and backed quite a bit by Twitch and Facebook. That this is what all these gamers use, and you can set it up to stream directly to a streaming type service. We are using BlueJeans, and largely web conferencing services don't typically lend itself for something like Open Broadcast Studio, which is why I'm using the virtual camera. So again, we're at the book and video, demo and shell, and then I've got different web interface screens, and you can see here I can open one of my students' consoles, and there it is in our Red Hat role environment. I have my labs and breaks scene, and once again, I tell them which lab to do. I put in a timer, so I'm going to tell it 3 seconds here. And then it should have Porky Pig very light in the background. I have the intro scene, which again does an intro before class. I can turn that off and turn on the instructor intro piece. It gives the instructors intro. Then again, the classroom web browser if I need to switch to webcam only. And then here's my Nintendo Switch scene. And the Nintendo Switch scene is meant, again, we're seeing what's on the iPad right now. The Nintendo Switch scene is meant to take what's on that HDMI input, make it full screen. So basically the full screen, what you would see on the Nintendo Switch going to a TV or a monitor. And then it's got me overlaid on top of it. And Joe, this is what you were talking about with the gamer here. And then typically what you would have is that other source here, and I'm just going to screw around. And now I'm on here twice. Holy cow. You thought one of me was bad, 2 of me is even worse. But you define these sources, and these sources can be placed anywhere on the scene. You can change the size of the source and do things like that. We can change the order. We can transform. So I can flip the source. I can, wait, I didn't want to flip it that way. I wanted to hold on, let me flip it vertical once again. I wanted to do a horizontal flip so I could wave it myself. So flip horizontal. So if I'm waving it myself, it looks like I'm on 2 different hands. So again, this is relatively easy to do. So what I would like to do now, before I do anything else, we've been broadcasting with the virtual camera. Sometimes with the virtual camera, the text here in the book can become blurry. So things like that can become blurry because most video conferencing software has issues because it's not buffering the video. It's fine with dropped frames. And that's especially true in BlueJeans. I've noticed the Google Meet seems to do better. But now I'm going to stop with the camera. The other thing before I show us how to use Open Broadcast Studio, the other thing you can do with Open Broadcast Studio is go into screen mode, and I'm going to full screen mode with the projector. And this often is much clearer, but if anyone, I know the Red Hat guys on here hate blue jeans sometimes with PowerPoint because there is a delay between the person talking and the slide changing and what's on the screen. And I can see the delay in my secondary blue jean stream right here. It's not live, so my hand looks like it's going in slow motion instead of being fast. But what you should note is the text is much more crisp. So Open Broadcast Studio, in addition to the output with a virtual camera, it allows you to output to a virtual projector. So you can broadcast that to a secondary screen, or if you're using it, let's say, in a conference room environment, you know how you have stuff going to the projector anyways, you can tell Open Broadcast Studio to broadcast whatever your scene is to that projector. And then what you've got on your laptop looks totally different than what's up there on the projector. So now look.
What kind of device is a projector?
Say what?
What kind of device does a projector show up as?
No, it's just a display device, and I'm going to show you that here. So I'm going to cancel as soon as I find which screen my mouse pointer's on. I'm going to cancel this projector, and I am going to tell it to share my main screen right now. If I can find blue jeans. And what's bad about sharing screen for me in sharing in blue jeans is I am running the 4K resolution, so that 38 whatever by 2560 or something. I forget what the resolution on my monitor is, but things can come down smaller. But let me make Open Broadcast Studio a little bit larger here so we can see it. And within Open Broadcast Studio, you have the scenes there on the left. Let me change my monitor resolution. That might help a little bit. Hang on 1 second here. Come on, display preferences. I'm looking for my display preferences here, and I'm going to change my resolution to 1920 by 1080. Wow, whoa, that's ginormous. So please hold while it's readjusting the resolution of the universe. So now I've just changed the display resolution here. So things should be much larger in Open Broadcast Studio. So you can see the different scenes here on the left. And that's how I'm able to switch through the scenes. So now we're going to define a scene, but let me make this a little bit smaller. It's too big for me to work with right now. So with Open Broadcast Studio, you have the scenes on that left-hand side, and we're just going to build a new scene. So I'm going to get rid of Joe because I built that scene for Joe when we were talking about Open Broadcast Studio. So I've got a couple different inputs there. So you can put an entire monitor even in there, a whole monitor that you want to share in one of your scenes. But I'm going to get rid of this scene. because we don't need the Joe scene. So we'll just create a scene, and I'll call this scene Meetup Demo. And in this Meetup Demo scene, I have a canvas here. And my canvas is blank. I've set up the properties of my canvas in the settings of Open Broadcast Studio. I want my canvas size to be 1080p. I want my broadcast size to be 1080p so that my processor doesn't have to do any scaling. Because my hope is everyone is able to see HD resolution, the 1920 by 1080, or 1080p as most people know it as. That's what people are used to webcams, and that's what most of your newer laptops support. So I've got a new scene called Meetup Demo. In Meetup Demo, now I want to add a source. So I can add a display capture source. And I don't have any display capture sources. I can add media sources, color sources, audio input or output captures, video capture devices. That is things like webcams, or in my case, that Avertech HDMI capture card. So you can create a new source, or you can always add a new. I'm going to use an existing source, so I'm going to say Logitech camera. So now I've added that camera source, and it puts it there on the screen. So let me just move that to the middle. I want me some type of background here, so I can add a source. I have no idea what type of background I want, but I know my background is going to be coming from an image. So I pick an image. I can pick any of the existing ones, but I want to create a new image. So the new image background, I'm just going to say Mario something. I don't know what Mario thing I'm going to get, but I'm sure I can find my Mario wallpaper. So I create Mario something, and then I hit OK. So now it asks me the properties for this Mario something. So now I'm going into Browse, and I'm going to look for a Mario JPEG or Mario PNG. I think I've got some Mario stuff on my Synology here. Let's look. Mario would be with the M, so there's Mario. Let's see what we have here. Those are PDFs. Let's go with Mario Birthday. So Mario Birthday, I'm hitting OK. So there's Mario Birthday. I'm going to resize this, be the full size here. And Mario Birthday is taking up the screen. So now I've got two layers, and guess what? My webcam's no longer visible. So what I can do on this layer is right-click on it, and on the order, this is my very bottom layer. This is what I'm using as a background. So I can do order, and I can tell it move to bottom. And then what that does, just like Photoshop or GIMP, it puts that as the very first layer, and then anything else is now on top of it. So, whoops, I've still got that layer selected. Now I select me, and you probably shouldn't have picked that background because you can't see the red lines around my box. But if I don't have me selected and the mouse is over top, you can see that there's a light hairline blue line that's around me. So I'm going to click on me again. That line turned red. Y'all can't see that because red blends in with red. If you look at Princess Peach's dress, though, and a little bit of the cake, you can see that thin red line that I always seem to cross. So let me resize my video. I'm going to put me down here. So what else do I want on here? Well, I might want my email application in here. So now what I'm going to do is set that I want to do a window capture. I've got a ton of window captures defined. So I've got Firefox for Classroom, the iTerm shells, the assignments, the Red Hot timer. So you want to name these window captures something that's meaningful. So when you pick this from a source, you know what it is. So I'm just going to say Mac Mail. So that's my Mac email source. So I'm going to click on that. So the source is named. Now I need to select what window goes with that source. So I might have underreported how many windows I have open across the 4 monitors. But here's my Mac Mail. So I'm going to click on OK. That brings in my mail source. I'm going to hit OK here. And now I'm going to resize the mail application and put it, like, whoops. I grabbed the background by accident. I'm going to put the mail application up here a little bit. And that thing doesn't matter. That's where I've got to do another conference. But anyways, there's the mail application. And then, I want something else. I can have a video source from VLC or a media source.
Hey, what happens to those windows after reboot?
Say what?
What happens to your windows after your reboot? How do you remap those again?
They're already mapped. They're mapped basically by name. So,
like if you open Firefox again after reboot, how does it know what Firefox window or what terminal to connect to?
So how it knows is based on the name in the top. So I'll go to I'll just add the Firefox Classroom in here. So I'm going to say window capture, and I'm going to pick Firefox for Classroom. So I'm going to add existing and throw Firefox on here too. So the other thing I do to make teaching easier is I use 3 different browsers. Actually, I use more than that, but 3 main browsers for teaching. Firefox is what I have as the dedicated browser for my classroom environment, because Firefox is available across the systems, and it's meaning across Windows, Mac, and Linux. And I know all these other browsers are too, but Firefox is actually on our Red Hat Foundation systems, whereas Chrome and some of these other browsers often are not installed. So Firefox I've designated as my classroom browser, and how it knows for the window is when you create that window source, it's opening based on that window title. So what I try and do is, for example, the Red Hat Learning Community. Let me open another window capture, existing source, and let's see here, RHLC and Google Classroom. So that window source should key in on Red Hat Learning Community. And it's probably, who knows where that is. Let me edit the properties of this one. Let me move it here, and we've got the source here. So I always start the week with the Red Hat Learning Community website. So as long as I open that browser and go to learn.redhat.com, it will automatically identify that as the source. And then once it's identified as the source, then I can click on any given tabs. So what happens is, if it doesn't identify the source properly, let's say it's blank and comes up blank, what you have to sometimes do is go in here, double click on that thing and select the window, because what happens is Chrome has changed the thing. So I'm on the regular Red Hat Learning Community. This is how it shows up for Chrome Canary, which is one of the browsers I use. So I typically use Chrome Canary, Firefox, and regular Google Chrome. For Google Chrome, I use the authenticated actual Red Hat Classroom pieces. Again, Firefox is my in-classroom web browser, and then Chrome Canary is how I show the Google Classroom and the Red Hat Learning Community. If I need another browser, I do have Opera. Obviously, I have Safari, which I almost never use. I do use the new Microsoft Edge because the new Edge is based on Chromium. So I have pulled that up when I needed a fourth or a fifth style browser for scenes. But largely, I found I can get by with these 8 or 9 scenes for the class. And then you click on things. So now, let me show us how to do an automatic scene switcher. So let me go to Travis Webcam Only. And this is the Travis Webcam Only scene. And you can see that I've only got a background in the Logitech camera defined. So at the top, what's really important that you have is the virtual camera installed. And you can see that I've got a stop and start. Well, it says stop virtual camera now because the virtual camera was started. But when you first launch OBS Studio, if you've got the virtual cam plugin installed, you do start virtual camera. So I want to build a new automatic scene and automatic scene switcher. So I'm going to go in here, and we've got 2 different things that are built here. So Classroom Web Browser is anything with Firefox. If I click on any Firefox window, it will automatically go to my Classroom Web Browser scene. If I click on any iTerm window, and let me close this, and if you can see just to the left of Open Broadcast Studio where my mouse is, there's the iTerm window there. If I click on it, notice what happens in Open Broadcast Studio. It automatically switched that window. It automatically switched the window because it knew where my mouse clicked. So, this prevents you from showing the not safe for work or accidentally displaying stuff to students that you don't want them to see by controlling the pieces. But what I found was sometimes I'll click into a terminal and start typing stuff, and I would have forgotten to switch to the terminal. And I type 3 commands, and then the students say, "Hey, we can't see what's on your screen." And so what I've done for at least the terminal and the Classroom web browser, which those are the 2 main interactive things, I've set up automatic scene switching. But now let's set up a new automatic scene switching, and let's look at what we've got here. So I want it to, when I click on, when I click on my, let me see what's in here. When I click on Google Chrome, I want to switch to the Meetup demo. So I add that. So now we've got Google Chrome in here. Now, if I wanted to change that and make it a little bit better, what I could do in here is do a period star Chrome star, and then tell it to switch to my Meetup demo and add that. So now when I click on close, if I did this right, I'm clicking on Google Chrome, And look, it automatically switched to my meetup demo scene. Now I'm going to come over here to the left of OBS Studio and click once again in that terminal window. And it automatically scene switched. I'm not switching them under scenes. And then if you go over here to the right, you see Firefox, a little bit of it in that white area. I know that's my OpenShift something or GitHub or who knows what that is, but I'm going to click in there and it automatically switches to my Firefox browser. So that's OBS Studio with the automatic scene switching. And you can see my desktop has a whole lot of crap on it. But when I am sharing from OBS Studio, either with that virtual projector or that virtual camera, they are seeing only what's on this scene. Now, if you get really creative, but I don't care to switch between the scenes and things like that, you can look and put OBS Studio in this studio mode so you can see what's currently there. And then on the left-hand side, that's where you can set up a different scene. And you can set how you want to transition to that scene. So it's got the different, I can do a fade to black and a cut, and I can transition between them, and it shows you output on transitioning, and you can preview some of the other scenes. Again, I typically don't use studio mode, but you know, we haven't recorded anything. All this is live video. All this is being shared out live with the virtual camera is how I tend to do it. I've tried it with the projector mode, and yes, the text is more clear, but people hate the jitters and the voice not matching the mouth movements and the movements not matching what's on the screen. OBS Studio has the different settings. This is what I was talking about here. So it's got the different themes, but you can set up your different streams and your different stream services. So you can stream directly to YouTube, directly to Twitter, Periscope, directly to Facebook Live, and if you show all, you can see all the different streaming things, and Blue Jeans is not on there.
I think I saw you on Chatterbait.
Zoom is not on there. What is that? Microsoft Teams is not on there. So to use something like an audio conferencing software, you either need to do something where you can share the desktop, which means you're sharing the screen and you're using the projector screen, or you're using the live camera. So remember when I said output. So what I've found that is good for output is video bitrate no lower than 2,500 kilobits per second with X264 encoding. I set the audio bitrate to 96. That can be set even lower because we are using microphone input to Blue Jeans. There is no virtual microphone equivalent. I'm not sure if you notice here as I'm talking, but let me move that down. You do see that OBS Studio right in the middle has an audio mixer, and it shows the levels and it shows me talking, and sometimes it can go red like that because I got so damn loud. But most of the time it's in the green and the yellow, and that's my mic and audio mixer. But the audio from OBS Studio never comes out in a video conference application because a video conference application wants a real audio source. Now, when you're streaming from OBS Studio, it takes the audio and video. And obviously, if you decide to record from OBS Studio, it records the audio and video. But I found that you don't want to go any lower than 2500K for your video output, 96 audio bit rate or lower. For video here, I've selected the base canvas. That's the canvas that I'm building back here in the back to be 1920 by 1080. So a 16:9 aspect ratio, basically 1080p or what people call full HD. I output scale resolution to 1920 by 1080. That way there's no sampling, there's no scaling required, so it's not intensive on the CPU or graphics card. And then I played around. Right now I like bicubic 16 samples for the downscale filter, and that's what I'm using here in terms of my OBS Studio settings. So we saw how to do the virtual camera. I'm going to stop the virtual camera. The other thing we can do, if you right click on here, you can do full screen projector and you do a source. So what this is telling OBS Studio is to output to a source. And that source is identified as a monitor, or if you've got a physical HDMI or VGA or DVI or, let me see, VGA, DVI, HDMI, DisplayPort monitor. Anything that's identified as a display device will show up in full screen projector. And here's my little traveling monitor. So I'm going to switch it back to the traveling monitor, and it goes full screen on that traveling monitor. And if I do the BlueJeans share and share that traveling monitor again and share the different display, I'm going to show you, I'm sharing that display. I'm telling it full screen projector mode. I'm outputting it to the projector, and now you see that essentially clear as day and super crisp. So it is outputting that scene over there on the projector. Let me see if I can do something else. Let me switch to a different scene. So I'm switching to a different scene, and we're essentially good there. So let me cancel this piece here. Let me close that here. And now let's see, what am I sharing? Am I sharing anything else? Yes, just the wrong desktop. So I want to switch my screen back to OBS Studio. The last thing you can do that works in things like BlueJeans is sometimes you can share applications. So instead of doing full-blown projector mode, I can tell it to do a windowed projector preview. And that came up somewhere. I don't know where my windowed projector preview went and which monitor it went on or what it's behind because I do not see it. Windowed projector preview. Let me move OBS Studio. Oh, that's why. So my preview is windowed here. This is my windowed projector preview. Let me move OBS Studio back. The other thing about OBS Studio, when it is running, nothing can be on top of it. So see, I'm clicking this thing in the background and I'm able to move it around, but I can't see it because OBS Studio's taking effect. But again, this is my windowed preview, and this is the thing that I might now be able to share in BlueJeans. So let's see if I can switch to what I'm sharing by an app list, and let me click on an OBS previewed window. And you can see now that I'm just sharing the OBS preview window, and I don't need that extra monitor or that projector mode because BlueJeans allows me to share just a preview of a window. So let me cancel the screen sharing if I can find it. And I'll go back to my virtual camera, and my OBS Studio virtual camera is not turned on now. And so to turn it back on, I would just go up to Tools and start virtual camera, and then the virtual cameras again. So Ben asked, is the green screen easy to set up? Ridiculously easy. The hardest part of it was me finding the hardware to screw and anchor, because I've got a regular projection screen. I did it in the ceiling. Now, I think the question is the transparent background easier to do? Because that's why I've got the green screen, is because I am leveraging chroma key. So let me switch to the Travis webcam only, where I'm basically full screen here. And I am going to share my OBS Studio application only. And now I'm just sharing the OBS Studio application. So how do I get that green screen to work and everything else? So I'm going to kill this Logitech camera source. I'm going to add a new source, video capture, and I'll say Logitech 2. And I'm going to see if it will let me use this camera again. So it lets me use it again. And I'm going to set that up. So here's me as Logitech 2, and I think this is what Ben was going for, is, here's my green screen, so you can actually see the screen is green. It was an old ratty blue blanket. So this is Logitech Camera 2. And before I finish, I want to look at the BlueJeans chat to make sure it is. So the green screen is green, Ben's favorite color. Now, I have no idea what your favorite color is, Ben. But green is one of my least favorite colors, which is why I never wear it. But we've got the green screen, and the whole point of the green screen is we want to eliminate that dumbass background that's behind us. And we want to appear as transparent, like we're floating. So I'm going to take this Logitech 2 source because I don't want to mess with my real one. And I'm going to right-click on that sucker, and I'm going to go to Filters. And under Filters, we've got Effects Filter. And what we want is called a chroma key. So chroma is a color, essentially. So chroma key, and I'll just call it green chroma key. So I know what this filter is. And I told it the key color type was green, and because it's green, you see there's gray all around me. So if I hit close now, look, it's pretty good. It got rid of me, but I look like I'm glowing a little bit. I've got a little bit of green glowing around me, and there's a little bit of fuzz and noise down there. So what I do is I edit this filter, and you can select green, blue, or magenta, or custom. And in custom, So let me get rid of this chroma key here. Let me do a new one. And let me do custom. Ah, crap, it already selected green. Let me select white here. Whoa, nope. What I typically like to do is look at the color slider and have it match the background behind me so it can match on the green. So there's the custom key, and I killed myself. So once again, going into filters here, green. Let me do green again, and then let me do smoothness. Smoothness here to make it a little bit more smooth. Change the similarity a little bit. Color spill, how the colors bleed over back and forth. Contrast, so I can change the contrast of me. And actually, I'm blurry there. That looks pretty good. So if I hit close there, now look, I don't have that little green glow around me. I changed how it matched the color. So this is Logitech Source 2. Let me look at Logitech Source 1. So now they're both very close and very similar. So it's really easy if you can get a color that you're not wearing. Because what happens is, like Ben said or other people said, you end up with Ghost Travis and Alien Travis because what color is this? This is a bluish. So let me change my chroma key filter here. Let's go with a custom color. And let's so because of the color I picked with blue, now some of the blue tint from my face is gone. You can read Foreman, but you're getting the red background. So now it's Demon Travis. Yeah, no memeing. So we go into the chroma key. We pick a different color here. And let me go back up and look behind me so I can try and match this green to the screen. So now I'm matching the green screen again. Similarities, smoothness, hitting close, and there I am with my new source back to normal. I need to change again contrast or anything else, color spill. I can change the color scale. Ooh, it's grayscale, Travis. Woo! Um, um, Again, change the color spill. You can change opacity of the image. You typically want that basically all the way up. You can do other keys. I haven't really played around with any of the color correction or anything else. I just care about the chroma key and getting that chroma key applied. That way you don't see any of the crap behind me, and then whatever's on the screen obviously is good. That way, whenever I'm here, you see me, there's no distracting background. It's me in my chair, and that's about it. So I'm going to cancel the screen share here. And we are now back to regular broadcasting. So now if people want to turn on their cameras and ask additional questions and coming on with voice to see if there's anything else you want to see about Open Broadcast Studio. Feel free to come on, use your camera, and ask away. Seriously, no questions at all?
Fine work, Travis. Fine work.
Thank you.
Hey, I got one question, Travis.
All right.
Can you edit the video after you've recorded, or do you still need to use something like PyTV?
So, Open Broadcast Studio, I don't believe you can really edit it easily in there. I've never tried. Other people that I know have used Open Broadcast Studio generally edit the video in another application. One of the other instructors that did some video for Open Broadcast Studio, he actually created a demo on how to use Open Broadcast Studio on Linux. And in his demo, and I'll copy that in here into the Blue Jeans chat, the video was actually 10 or 12 minutes in there. But what he did was he edited the video and fast forwarded it like a cooking show and cut a whole bunch of crap out so that 11 or 12-minute video came down to like 4.5 minutes. But I really do not know. To be honest, I have not used Open Broadcast Studio to record a video I've had to edit. I did do some stuff for my niece for like a slideshow video quickly. That was 2 years ago. And that was the only time I ever recorded anything in Open Broadcast Studio. I don't like memes of me, and I definitely don't like video recordings of me. Of course, Gary's going to have one from the meetup because this meetup has been recorded. So, are there any questions? Other questions, Keith or Chris or anybody out there?
Hey, this is Doug. I just wanted to chime in about the about editing it. I have used OBS in the past to do recording of things, but I don't, like you said, Travis, I don't think you can edit it in there. I use things like the MKV toolbox and FFmpeg to re-encode it.
Okay. Well, that's what I thought. I didn't see a nice way to edit it, but you never know.
I'm sure I'll have some questions once I get into it, and I may text you because we're trying to figure out a different way to live stream for church, and somehow or another the IT security guy got the camera duties thrown on him. So I'm sure I'll have something.
Yeah, I was going to
He
say
volunteered.
with this, Chris, it only took 15 minutes or less to install. It's good for any OS. And then my guess is your church is probably using Windows. So it's a piece of cake to install OBS Studio and the virtual camera plugin. They're just MSI files. And then all you've got to do is figure out what scenes you want to set up and how to set up those scenes, and you're done.
Yeah, I've been running it from I'm streaming from my iPhone, and then had my MacBook beside me running off it. So it'll be nice to be able to get it in a position where I can actually control everything rather than just stream and go.
Yeah, and this is perfect for you. Any other questions? All right, Gary, I'm turning the meeting back over to you.
I don't really have anything. We'll get the August LUG scheduled here soon. I appreciate you doing the presentation. We're always looking for presenters for anyone that's listening. Also, here in a second, for some reason, the stop recording button doesn't show up for me anymore. Does it show up for you, Travis?
Yeah, I should be able to cancel recording if you want me to cancel recording now.
No, stop recording, not cancel recording.
Okay, stop.
We got a meeting.
I will stop recording.